I taught secondary school for 31 years. History, mostly. I know what discipline looks like, the real kind, not the performed kind, because I spent 3 decades trying to instill it in 14-year-olds who did not want it. So when I tell you what I saw at the gates of Aldenmere Palace that Tuesday morning, I am not telling you the story of a viral video. I am telling you the story of a man I have thought about nearly every day since. My name is Dorothea Marsh. I am 63 years old, retired, and I had brought 7 of my grandchildren, ranging from 9 to 15, to see the changing of the guard as a birthday treat for the eldest, my granddaughter Clem. We arrived early. The forecourt was already thick with tourists, maybe 200 people pressed behind the rope line, phones raised, the whole familiar choreography of a crowd waiting for something ancient and precise to happen in front of them. The guard was already posted. He stood at the eastern gate, alone at his sentry box, and I noticed him immediately, not because of any premonition, but because he was simply the most still thing in a restless world. Red tunic. Tall black bearskin. White gloves. A rifle held at perfect parade rest. His eyes were fixed somewhere above the crowd, above the city, above all of it. Whatever he was looking at, it was not here. I have seen guards before, of course. But there was something about this one, a quality of absolute absorption in his stillness, as if the post were not a job but a calling, the way a cathedral feels different from a building even when it is empty. He looks like a statue, my grandson Felix said, and meant it as a compliment. He is not a statue, I told him. Watch. I would have no idea, then, how right I was. The men arrived perhaps 10 minutes before the full ceremony was due to begin. I say arrived, but what he actually did was materialize at the front of the crowd the way certain people do, the ones who have never in their adult lives stood behind anyone for anything. He was somewhere in his mid-40s, expensively dressed in a linen blazer that cost more than my first car, and he had 2 things in his hands, a camera on a stabilizer gimbal, pointed at himself, and the absolute certainty of a man who has never been told no by anyone who mattered. I heard him before I fully registered him. His voice was the kind designed to fill rooms, loud enough to be a performance, even in open air. Okay, we are live, people, I am at Aldenmere Palace, I am about to get the most insane content you have ever seen, and trust me when I say this is going to break the internet. I know, I say that every week, but this time I mean it. He was narrating to the camera while walking, and the crowd parted for him the way crowds do for people who don't slow down. He reached the rope line, ducked under it without pausing, a palace staff member started moving toward him immediately, and positioned himself directly beside the guard. Not near the guard. Beside him. 2 feet away, angling the gimbal so both of them were in frame. Look at this guy, he said to the camera, grinning. Look at the hat. Look at the face. Like a museum exhibit, right? Just frozen. Watch this. He snapped his fingers an inch from the guard's face. Nothing. Not a flicker. The guard's eyes did not move. His jaw did not shift. He might have been carved from the same stone as the gate behind him. Amazing, the men said. Truly amazing. They trained them to do this, right? Just total lockdown. Okay, wait, I want to get this from a better angle, can you just? And then he put his hand on the guard's arm and pushed him, gently but unmistakably, 2 inches to the right. Repositioning him. As you would reposition a lamp. I felt the crowd react, not in sound, but in texture. The way a room changes when something has gone wrong. Clem, 15 years old and sharper than I was at her age, grabbed my sleeve. The guard did not move. I mean that precisely. He had been pushed, and he had not moved. Whatever force had been applied had apparently encountered something immovable and simply failed. He stood exactly where he had been standing. His eyes did not change. His hands did not tighten on the rifle. He did not blink. He was not performing composure, he was composure, all the way down, the way iron is iron and not something pretending to be iron. The men blinked first. He laughed, a short, uncertain laugh. Wow. Okay. Wow. He turned to the camera. Did you see that? He didn't even, I literally just, okay, let's try something else. He stepped in front of the guard. Not beside him now, in front of him, blocking the guard's line of march, angling his own body to get the shot he wanted with the gate behind them both, the guard framed over his shoulder like a prop. The gimbal was still running. The crowd was absolutely silent now. "Say something," the men said, still grinning, still performing. "Come on. Just one word. For the people. They would love it. Just." The guard's eyes came down. I want to be careful about how I describe this, because everything that follows is a matter of record and anyone can verify it. But those of you who were there, who were standing where I was standing with 7 children at the rope line on a Tuesday morning, you know what I mean when I say that the guard's eyes coming down was not like a man shifting his gaze. It was like a weather change. It was slow and complete and final, and when his eyes settled on the men in the linen blazer, the men stopped talking. Not because the guard said anything. He did not say anything. He did not touch the men, did not raise the rifle, did not step forward. He simply looked at him, and whatever was in that look, whatever 30 years of discipline and whatever private history lived behind those eyes, it was enough. The men laughed again, but the laugh was a full register smaller than the ones before it. "Okay," he said. "Okay, okay." He stepped to the side. And then the palace duty officer arrived. She came from the right, moving quickly and quietly, a slim woman in a dark uniform who had clearly been watching from the moment the rope line was crossed. She reached the men in approximately 12 seconds, said something to him in a voice I could not hear, and placed her hand lightly on his arm, not as a grip, the way a grip reads when you see it, but as a simple, final redirection, the way you redirect a child who has walked into the wrong room. The men said something back, louder. I caught the word content. I caught something that might have been you can't. The duty officer said 2 sentences. Unhurried. Her face entirely pleasant. Whatever the 2 sentences contained, they ended the conversation. The man's jaw tightened. He looked at the guard once more, the guard whose eyes had already returned to their fixed point above the city, as if none of it had happened, and then the man let himself be walked away from the gate, through the crowd, and out through the pedestrian exit to the left. He was live the entire time. I didn't know that, in the moment. Clem told me later, when we were eating lunch nearby and she had pulled out her phone. His stream had roughly 40,000 viewers when he crossed the rope line. By the time the duty officer walked him out, it was past 80,000. The clip of his eyes going down, of the guard looking at him, and of the men going quiet, had already been cut from the stream by viewers and was moving across the internet at a speed I am not technologically equipped to measure accurately. The man himself posted nothing for 6 hours, which Clem told me was completely unlike him. He typically posted every 40 minutes. By that evening, his management company had released a statement. I will not reproduce it here, but its general content was that the individual no longer represented their roster of clients, effective immediately. The full ceremony proceeded as scheduled. The relief unit came through the gate in perfect formation, boots striking the cobblestones in the exact unison that takes years to achieve and looks, when you finally see it in person, like something between a clock and a prayer. The tourists filmed it. The phones went up. The crowd shuffled and realigned, and the whole thing played out exactly as it would have on any other Tuesday, as if a man in a linen blazer had never been there at all. That, I think, was the point. I think about what the guard must have carried into that post. I have no way of knowing his specific history. What I know is what everyone saw and what the palace later confirmed in a brief, 2-sentence statement, that the guard had served continuously at the Eastern Gate for 11 years, and that he had been formally decorated twice, once for what was described as actions under fire in a foreign theater, and once for what the statement called distinguished service above the demands of duty. 2 decorations. 11 years. The men in the blazer had seen a costume. He had not seen the men inside it. But here is the part one keep returning to. After the duty officer walked the men away, after the crowd noise gradually restated itself, after the ceremony began and the relief unit came through the gates in perfect formation, the original guard was still there. Still at his post. Still at that fixed point above the city. You would not have known anything had happened. No additional stiffness, no visible relief. Not even the subtle settling that people do after tension leaves a room. He was exactly as he had been when I first noticed him, before any of it. My youngest grandchild, Oliver, who is 9 and literal-minded in the way that 9-year-olds are, tugged my sleeve. "Gran," he said. "Did that man hurt the guard's feelings?" I thought about how to answer that. The guard has feelings, I said. The same as you and me. But some people learn to keep them very, very safe. Not hidden. Just safe. So no one who doesn't deserve them can reach them. Oliver considered this for a long moment, watching the guard at the far end of his march. That seems like it would be very hard, he said. It is, I said. That's why not many people can do it. What I did not say to Oliver, but what I have thought about many times since, is this: the guard's last known words before taking his post that morning had been recorded by the duty sergeant for administrative purposes, and were later shared, with the guard's permission, in a short profile piece printed in a veteran's journal several months after the incident. He had said them to the incoming relief guardsman before heading out to the gate, a piece of old regimental tradition, the words that one guard says to the next when the shift turns over. The outgoing guard says, "Carry it well." The incoming man had said it to him. He had said it back. 2 words. The same 2 words that guardsmen at Aldenmere had said to one another at every post exchange for longer than any of them could trace. A kind of promise. A kind of inheritance. He had walked out to the gate and stood there for 4 hours in all weathers and in front of several hundred people, any one of whom might have been kind or cruel or indifferent, and he had carried it. I brought the children back 2 months later, just Clem and Oliver, for Oliver's birthday. He had asked specifically. He wanted to see the guard again. I did not know if it would be the same man, I had no way of finding out. It was. He was at the eastern gate, same post, same bearing, same fixed point above the city. Oliver watched him for a long time without speaking, which for Oliver is extraordinary. Then he straightened up, very seriously, and stood the way he'd seen the guard stand. Shoulders back. Eyes forward. Hands at his sides. He held it for about 45 seconds before he lost focus and looked at me, a little sheepish. "How long do they do that for?" he asked. "4 hours," I said. "Every day." Oliver's expression was the one children make when a number is large enough that it stops being a number and becomes something else entirely. Something that has to be felt instead of calculated. "Every day," he said. "Every day." He looked back at the guard. The guard did not look back. He was already somewhere else, that fixed point, that private place above the noise and the phones and the ordinary human scramble of a Tuesday morning, already back inside whatever it is that holds a man still for 4 hours in any weather, for 11 years, for 2 decorations, for all the weight of all the days that nobody names and nobody films. Carry it well. I do not know his name. I hope someone in his life does.